Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports, the local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
The Suns have broken through the lowest of ceilings. They've won 2 consecutive games for the first time since late January. They now possess the 10th seed in the play-in, meaning the postseason is now theirs to lose. They don't control their own destiny because destiny is not something you can control, but they do control their own density, as in how substantial they are going to be on defense in the days moving forward. Now, I am most encouraged by the Devin Booker I've seen in the past 2 games. His energy is peaking, and he is again starting to look like one of the best players in the league. Now, maybe he's flourishing on a team that is leaning into the exuberance of youth, fresh faces who are bringing a much greater compete level to the basketball court. Or maybe he's vibing on the fact that just last week, Matt Ishbia said he will never be traded from Phoenix, which means D-Book is in line for a giant payday this summer that will bump him from $56 million a year to over $70 million a year, an extension that his most hated rival, Luka Doncic, is no longer eligible to receive. Either way, the new look seems to have summoned the old book, and that makes me feel much better about the present and the future.
Just being connected, on the defensive side of the ball, and once you're getting stops and not taking the ball out the net every time and having to run something every time down, I think everybody just gets in a better flow and rhythm.
That's Devin Booker last night after the win over the Chicago Bulls, talking about what has led to the better flow. And, yeah, it does start on the defensive end. And this team's not perfect defensively. They certainly weren't perfect last night. There were a couple of slip-ups. Obviously, Chicago got their footing offensively in the second half, scoring 70 points to make that a game, especially in the fourth quarter. But there has been marked improvement on that side. And really to focus in on the subject of your blast today, Devin Booker, what we have seen the last 2 games has been very encouraging from him. It has also been encouraging from the rest of the team. But, I use the term puzzling to describe, that's how I describe Devin Booker's performance on Sunday against the Lakers. And in what could have been, in many ways, the low point of the last month for the team because of where it occurred and what network it was occurring on. Because they did not put out the requisite effort to compete in an NBA game in the first half against the Lakers. Played a little bit better in the second half. But, yeah, getting home, stacking these wins together seems to have re-energized Devin Booker, who was fantastic last night. 33 points in the second half. As I stated earlier, with the way the defense did slip in the second half, if he doesn't do that, we might be talking about a very, very frustrating and damaging loss for the Suns.
And listen, and that I've been a little concerned about the change in Devin Booker over the last couple of seasons for whatever the reason. At peak Book, when he was in the MVP conversation, he would put his head down, take everybody to the rim, and just finish on them and flex. It's great to see him racing around the court again, and I think he's inspired by these young players. I mentioned earlier in the week that in listening to one of the Ryan Russillo podcasts, they do this game, who would you rather have for the next 2 years? And they give you 2 different players. They did Devin Booker and Cade Cunningham. Now, the good news is that Devin Booker was selected. The bad news to me was there was a time when Devin Booker was compared, who would you rather have, him or Luka Doncic, him or Donovan Mitchell? Now it's Cade Cunningham. So last night's game and these last 2 games make me feel like Devin Booker hasn't plateaued. That for whatever reason, maybe it was the Olympics, maybe it's this new set of teammates that are engaged on defense, maybe it's better pace. Whatever it is, it's making me feel a lot better, like I said. Not only about the now and what they might do and look like over the last 12 games of the season, but just as him as the centerpiece of this basketball team.
Now, to me, the next step is whether it's him as the centerpiece or whoever wants to be the centerpiece, it's doing it against a good team. And they're going to have plenty of opportunities to do that in their last 12 games, starting tomorrow night with Cleveland. And Cleveland's in an interesting spot. They are an excellent basketball team. They're far and away the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, but they're also maybe doubting themselves for the first time in a really long time, having lost 3 straight after winning 16 in a row to set a new franchise record. So I think tomorrow night, that is a very anticipated game, an intriguing matchup. But, about Booker's performance as well, Kevin Durant, who also chipped in with 26 points on 8 of 15 shooting last night, he said this about Devin Booker.
Just getting wherever he wants to get, and coach put him in great positions to be successful all game, and he took advantage of it. Like I said, I don't get surprised by big nights from him. I almost expect it every night.
Like you enjoyed his banked-in three?
Yeah, I enjoyed every part of the game, man. I enjoyed getting up, waking up, being alive every day, and being an NBA player.
That banked-in three was that, or the behind the back pass to Nick Richards for the dunk. To me, were the two highlights from Booker last night, and it got a big laugh from himself and from Kevin Durant as they went back on defense. And I thought that was going to be the dagger that just ended the game. Chicago, they fought back, they made it a game. Another thing that I loved, and we've talked so much about these young players, Bick, contributing, and Ryan Dunn is at the forefront of it as a first-round draft pick rookie, and started off really well and then hit the skids and wasn't getting consistent playing time. But not only is he contributing big minutes and competing like he always competes on the defensive end, he made big shots last night too. Like there was an end of the clock. It turned out to be a 2. His foot was on the line, but that was a big shot, a pressure shot. And for him to go 7 for 11 from the floor, 2 of 4 from three-point range, you want to talk about gravy.
Yeah.
That's a whole, if you like gravy, that's a good helping.
You like gravy, Jarrett? Yeah. What do you think of gravy?
I do like gravy.
I bet you
Gravy
do.
is like my third favorite vegetable.
But listen, to vibe back on this about tomorrow night's game, everything that is defined the Suns to this point, the local criticism and the severe national criticism that has flared up a few different times this season. These teams are playing now will allow the Suns to bridge that credibility gap very, very quickly. As I said during the Rush Hour reboot, there are a couple of NBA analysts who are looking at the play-in and saying, we don't need this. 1 through 8, particularly in the Western Conference, that's been settled. We know who the best 8 teams are in the West. We don't need the Phoenix Suns spoiling it for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's kind of what's out there. The Suns can change that narrative by stacking and beating some of these teams in front of them, not only because they kind of have to, but because in doing so, it will allow them to sort of create a new reality for themselves.
Yeah. And look, I tend to agree with your thinking on the play-in too, and this year's pretty clear-cut, but this is the system that's in place, and the Suns still have an opportunity to grasp, that chance that they have to make it into the postseason. I would almost feel dirty. Minnesota, to me, they have been up and down, but when they're at their best, I think they're one of the better teams in the Western Conference, and it seems weird that they might have to play in the play-in.
But also, it's because of what's happening in Dallas, that whoever gets that 10th seed is going to back in even if
that's
they...
it. Yeah. That's it. And that's the narrative the Suns can change, that they're not just the best of the worst teams in the Western Conference, that they have found something late, and they have proven it by taking out maybe Cleveland, maybe getting a win against the Celtics, maybe beating the Bucks at home. So, look, the opportunity is going to be what they make of it.
Yeah, but I'm also, this is more to me the responsibility of the Suns, and maybe that becomes more difficult because of the competition they have to play. I am not ready to pronounce the Dallas Mavericks dead. I know it's in vogue to do it, but I think there's so much that's gone wrong for that team that the guys that are wearing that uniform and taking the court night to night, they want to prove something, and they're kind of ticked off about it.
Yeah, I got to watch that game last night. You obviously had to work at the arena, and I was impressed by the compete level from the Mavericks. And Anthony Davis is not demanding, but he is insisting on returning because they've got such a numbers issue in terms of available players. So, yeah, I'm not counting them out either. I'm not necessarily counting out the Trailblazers. They've kind of got their footing again, although their schedule is very, very difficult going out as well. Suns have created an opportunity for themselves. They've got the 10th seed in the play-in now. Can they move up? Can they go catch 9? Can they... It's up to them.
But they've also got some proof of what they need to put out there to lean on to win basketball games too.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.